I will admit, I didn't plan on reading this book. I came across it by accident. So I picked it up and decided to read it. And if you want a little bit of background on this, the Sherbrooke Bride and the Hellion Bride, and I forget which one is the Heir's Bride, and we also have the Scottish Bride, and then of course the twins. But anyways, Ryder Sherbrooke is a fun-loving rake with a secret. When he travels to Jamaica to solve the mystery of the supernatural goings-on at the Sherbrooke sugar plantation, he finds another mystery as well, a sophisticated 19-year-old girl, Sophie Stanton Grenville, who wants to bed him, and not, he believes, because she is simply enthralled with his handsome self or his boundless charm. Sophie has unsuccessfully controlled every man in her orbit until she meets Ryder Sherbrooke, a man she knows immediately indifferent from others, a man she sees as one of hell's own sons. Ryder, confident as only a successful rake can be when it comes to knowing women, sets out to teach her who's in charge. It said she already has 3 lovers. Is she indeed the outrageous tease she appears, a seductress, or is she an innocent with ugly and terrifying secret? Now, once they get through all that stuff and they get back to England, he has, I wouldn't call it quite an orphanage, but he starts collecting children. Children who've been abandoned, children who are alone, children who are not cared for in other ways. Wait a second. My co-host wanted in. And Ryder and his, I was going to read some of this stuff, but I changed my mind. Ryder and his kids and his orphanage are talked about constantly. The one thing I'm a little sad about is the fact that we don't see Sophie at all. We just see Ryder. It's Ryder. Only Ryder. So anyway, where am I? So this book starts off with, Dear reader, London, 842. Alex Ivanhoe has a good reason to believe in luck, despite the fact that someone tried to kill him when he was 12 years old. And he woke up with no memory at all of who he was or who wanted him dead. A bad start indeed, but his luck stepped in. Ryder Sherbrooke saved Alex from drowning in the Thames and raised him as one of his own children. Alex is smart, insightful, fascinated by trains, how they work, and how to make them better. It doesn't hurt. He's a pleasure to look at. More luck taps him on the shoulder when Alex is 24 and he meets Lady Cam. They spend 2 chapters talking to each other before they actually introduce each other. A young lady who's outspoken, funny, brave, and loyal to the bone. She has a wonderful father and a wicked stepmother. A stepmother that's everything in creation to get rid of the chick. And a sister who puts her down at every step of the way, and I have no idea why. Not a clue. So then they're meeting with these people, and this guy comes to them and says, you know, he looks, he's the spitting image of Graham. This guy that went disappearing, this kid that went disappearing many years ago, he could be his twin. He's got the same eyes, he's got the beard, he's got everything. So Ryder and Graham, Alex go to the estate, and everybody in the world immediately knows that this is Graham. He's no longer Alex, he's Graham, and they don't question him at all. No questions, no doubts, nothing. They 100% believe who he is. He also explains to them he has no memory. In the meantime, the mother-in-law is, not the mother-in-law, the stepmother is trying to get Cam to marry all these guys that she doesn't want to marry. She just wants her out of her house because she wants to control her husband. And the husband, she comes out with these dresses and she puts her stuff in front of him and he just melts. He's just a dirty old man who just melts. And it's his naivety that gets him in trouble when she takes all the jewels and takes all his money and splits. But by this point, Graham knows who he is. He's going to marry Cam. She's going to become a viscountess. And the world is going to be over. But we still got to find out who's trying to kill us. Because it happens again. Someone tries to kill them on their honeymoon. And they also treat servants as family. At one point, I think more than once, Cam and Graham sit down and have a meal with their lady's maid and their butler, or their valet, his valet. And then they go to the estate, the father's estate, and they get to know the family and all the people out there. And not a single person questions who he is. Not a single person. And then there's another attempt on the life, and this time Cam gets knocked out for several days, and Graham spends several days by her bed, nursing her back. So there's not too much in the angst, the relationship angst. There really isn't. There's very, very little. So that was good. I'm not this person anymore. But even these had mystery to them. Even these had stuff to overcome. They weren't just relationship angst. They had other stuff to them. And if I'm going to read one of these books, it's got to have something else. Oh, Alex, that's the wife. She was the spy or something. So there was something else here. So there was something else besides just the relationship angst. The relationship angst was this much. The identity and what happened to him and where's his memory and who the relatives are and what happened to the brother and does the brother still live, because he was supposedly he had a brother. It turns out, well, that's a spoiler. I won't spoil it. The brother wasn't, I can't tell you that part. That's a big, huge spoiler of the book. But he spends the whole time, he doesn't remember, he's walking around the state, he hears stories from everybody, and he gets little specks here and there, but he doesn't really get his memory back. And the whole town is visiting and checking him out and getting to know him, and they're so pleased he's back, and blah, 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 blah. And we do a lot of talking about the trains and the waterways and the piping and the steam engine and all that kind of stuff. And I was like spending all this time with this stuff, and I'm like, that stuff really doesn't even matter. That doesn't matter to the plot line. It's like I guess it's a subplot, but it's not really, like, it takes a backseat to there's so much of it, and you think you want to believe that there's something tied up in it, that there's part of the mystery, the drawer, the law, whatever, there's nothing. There's just nothing. So just skip the train stuff. Skip the car stuff. Skip the steam engine stuff. There's no point. What's the point? But Eliza's treatment of her sister bugs me. I love when Wynn put his foot down to Eliza and said blah, 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 blah. I expected Eliza to just hit the door, but she didn't. Because when Eliza was getting to know Whit, Eliza is Cam's sister. And when she was getting to know Whit, his father was kind of sickly, and he was going to go, and Whit was going to climb up in the ranks, and he was going to head to stake, and she was going to be in charge of her estate, and she was going to do her wifely duty, give him the heir, and then he was going to go off and have mistresses and all that kind of stuff. And then it turns out the father's in perfect health. He's getting on with the lady next door. The lady next door has 6 kids. He's so happy. He gets married to the lady next door. They have a blended family. Whit is so excited. He's got brothers and sisters now. And Eliza's just like, ah! I was so waiting for her to walk out the door, but she didn't. I really, really thought she was going to walk out the door. I really, really did. I really thought she was going to walk out that door. So Cam and Graham are getting to know each other. They're learning about each other. They're exploring the grounds. They're exploring the family. So, Douglas shows up for the wedding, but that's it. You're just told he's there. There's no conversation with Ryder. There's no extra stuff. There's none of that extra stuff. There's no relation. I was kind of disappointed with that. I wanted more stuff with Douglas. I wanted to see Alex. I wanted to see Sophie. I wanted that extra stuff. I tell you though, I had a very, very, very low opinion of Cam's father. He was such a wimp. His wife put her stuff in front of him, And the guy melted and agreed to whatever she wanted. And it was just, ugh. What was it? I just saw it. And now I lost it again. I don't know what I did with my glasses. Wit felt very fine, a man pleased with himself and the world. After a splendid afternoon with his enthusiastic wife, followed by a much-needed nap, he managed to escape from his house before his daughter could catch him. Nor did he see his eldest daughter Eliza, doubtless in her room preparing for the evening with that sour face made of hers, Claudine. His precious Avril, now pleased with him, and she'd executed his promise to see his hoyden daughter off to Bath, if she refused to apologize to Teddy Jewel Friday night. If that is, poor Teddy accepted their invitation. If he refused, why then would she chaperone Eliza to Winter Smith's ball? Wood profoundly hoped his presence wouldn't be required. He's such a wimp. He's such a wimp. He fell for everything. She just stuck her girls in front of his face, and he just melted and agreed to anything she wanted. And I just thought her father was such a wimp. I hated the guy in the beginning. He gets a little better in later on, but he's still a total wimp. And when she walks out with his jewels and all his money, it's like, you deserve what you got there, dude. But I didn't like Eliza either, and her treatment of his sister. And they're forever harping on Ryder and all his children and all the things he did and all the houses and all the kids and all the rescuing. But you never see Sophie. That, like I said, with Douglas at the wedding, he's there, and that's it. You're told he's there. There's no conversational interaction. There's no Sophie conversational interaction. There's nothing there. So the whole rest of the book, he's trying to remember who he is. He's trying to figure out who's trying to kill him. He lands on this. It has to be this one person. It absolutely has to be this one person. He's the only person that has anything to gain. And we confront this person, and stuff goes 6 ways to Sunday. So you will have to check that out because it leads to a second person. So anyways, I think this is book 1 in a new series. She's also got, I haven't read it yet. I haven't read these books, but there's a series, Ryder Sherbrooke's Otherworldly Adventures, The Strange Vegetation at Wolf's Hall, The Resident at Blackthorn Manor, The Ancient Spirits of Sedgwick House, The Virgin Bride of Northcliffe Hall. Oh, and we've had the Virgin Bride forever. She appears in quite a few of the other books. The Red Witch of Raven's Folly and The Alarming Disturbance at Holyrood. And if you haven't read these, The Sherbrooke Bride, The Hellion, The Heiress Bride, The Scottish Bride, The Wingham Legacies, Pendragon, and The Twins. So, let me know. Don't forget If Then Fridays. Don't forget JD Robb Saturdays, Unboxing Sundays, Flashback Mondays, and my daily book reviews. Have a good one.